Hi, Football Pocket News here. We are warrantless again. He's going to sell his house, so he's a little busy, man. I've got Austin with me, Cody, and we are just going to talk free agency again. This week we're going to do a draft episode, so the first of many draft episodes leading up to the draft will start on Sunday, and Cody's going to be ready, he says. So tonight
Oh,
we're
I
going
didn't
to
say
start
that. I'm
with
never
the
ready.
AFC East. We're going to talk moves. We're going to talk divisional standings and where people think that he might land so far. Like I said, this will change in the coming weeks, but we're just going to go through it and then we'll go through it again in a week or two. So we're going to start with the Dolphins. And since Warren isn't here, we're divvying up his teams, and Austin's going to be the Dolphins.
All right, let me pull up what the Dolphins did in free agency. They somehow still have Tua.
Shots fired. I need the sound effect. Hold up.
Oh,
Well,
last thing that comes up about the Dolphins is how they lost by 30 points to the Bills.
I can give you a list, and you could just talk about them.
Oh, okay,
they signed Jacoby Brissett 1 year max
I like that move.
value of $77.5 million.
I like that move, actually. I think Jacoby's a quality backup, and if needed, he can start.
Okay, Malcolm Brown they signed for a 1 year deal with $1.75 million. That's a cheap deal for him.
Oh, I love that deal. That is a great deal.
That's a great deal. I love that deal.
They got
copying me.
Isaiah Wilson. They acquired in a trade from Tennessee.
I actually do love that deal because it literally cost them nothing. They got Isaiah Wilson and they swapped sevenths.
Yeah, it cost them nothing. They got Will Fuller today. It's 1 year, 10.625, fully guaranteed.
I like that because he's
with another $3 million in incentives, so it can be worth $13.5 million.
He's a speedy guy, and so I'm assuming they're going to draft Chase at 3. So they get Chase at 3, or if they move down, Chase will be the receiver they draft. So you get him as your number 1, Will Fuller as your number 2, put Parker in the slot, or switch Fuller and Parker, depending.
Sounds like them and the Jets might have to be tied for the second best receiving core in the AFC East, but we'll talk about that later.
Behind the Patriots, right?
No.
Bills are dead last.
And then they signed Matt Skura, the old center for the Ravens. No money on that yet. That's a good signing. What do you think about that?
He's had, 7 penalties in 4 years? That's what some smart guy named Cody said in our group chat.
Yeah, he had 9 total. A couple were declined, but he had 3 holding penalties and 4 false starts that were accepted.
So
that's crazy.
Then they got the defense tackle Adam Butler he used to play for the Patriots. Now he came to the Dolphins, a 2-year deal worth up to $9.5 million.
The Patriots defensive line was trash. So
this is a big need for them. They traded for Bernardrick McKinney from the Texans and gave up Shaq Lawson in a 6th, and they got Bernardrick McKinney in a 7th. Do you think they won that trade? I mean, they needed a linebacker, right?
Yeah, and they got he's been in the Pro Bowl, 3 times? 2 times?
Yeah, 3 times.
3.
And they signed Justin Coleman. He's a slot corner. He used to play for the Lions. They got him for $2.75 million. And then they signed a punter, Michael Pallardy.
They'll be doing that a lot if Tua is their quarterback.
And that is the Dolphins off season. So what do you think?
I give it a C+.
C+.
I like getting a receiver. I think the center will be good. I haven't really watched him.
Okay. What do you think they're going to land in the division standings?
3rd.
Ahead of Buffalo, right?
Oh, yeah, Buffalo's dead last. That team is trash.
Yeah, screw y'all. Just for that, we're going to do the Buffalo Bills next. I am the Buffalo Bills.
They're landing 4th.
You guys have done nothing in free agency. You guys are going to have to be trash.
Anyways, so the Bills, they signed Mitchell Trubisky to back up Josh Allen. It's a really cheap deal, which is weird because he had offers for triple this, so I don't know why he took this deal. But apparently he wanted to come in, he wanted to sit behind Josh Allen, he wanted to learn from our quarterbacks coach and Brian Daboll. There's rumors that says if Trubisky gets along with Brian Daboll really well in this offseason, that he could follow Brian Daboll because Brian Daboll will probably get a head coaching job either next year or the year after. So maybe he might go with him wherever he goes if they get along. I don't know. We re-signed Taiwan Jones. He's a special teams player. We got Emmanuel Sanders 1 year, up to $6 million. Kind of replaces John Brown. They're similar receivers, but I think that Emmanuel Sanders is a better route runner. John Brown is a little faster, but Emmanuel Sanders is a better route runner. Imagine him and Diggs running routes. I mean, that's going to be fantastic. But
cool Emmanuel Sanders fact: the past 3 years, he has signed with playoff teams.
Emmanuel Sanders is chasing that ring, man.
And he's gone to 3 Super Bowls. So
he's been like, do you mean overall or?
Yeah, I think overall. Was he with Denver for both of theirs, right? And
he was with Denver for 1.
He was with San Francisco for theirs.
Yeah,
and Denver for 2016, I know.
The one they won or the one they lost?
One they won.
Okay.
The one they lost, I don't think he was there. I think that was his last year in Pittsburgh. But I'm not 100%.
Maybe it was. I think he went to one with Pittsburgh though. Their last one against Arizona.
He went to the one against Kansas City with San Francisco.
Yep.
He was there.
And
I think I think he said he went to 3. So I think he went to the one in Pittsburgh against Arizona in 2000 or something like that. No, that was 2007. That was a long time ago. I don't know. Whatever. That was whatever. No. They played the Packers in the Super Bowl in 2010 or 2011. The Steelers, they lost.
2010 is when they lost to the Packers in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think that's the one.
In 2000, they went to back-to-back Super Bowls, right? Because they won in 2009 and lost in 2010.
No, they didn't go back-to-back. I know there was somebody in between.
Oh.
All right. So then there's we re-signed Darrell Williams. Big deal. We needed him. John Feliciano came back, re-signed, which is good because the guards are getting overpaid, I think, a little bit. We've re-signed Matt Milano, which is huge because the Patriots are getting like a million linebackers. I mean, a million tight ends. So that's a big. He's our coverage tight end guy. And then we re-signed Levi Wallace, which I'm iffy about. I still think we need to bring in a rotational CB2, but we'll see what we do there. And then we signed the Dolphins punter, Matt Hawk is how you pronounce it, I guess. Now that was interesting because Corey Bojorquez had a better season and he wanted to come back, but when I listened to Brandon Beane talk about it today, he said that Bojorquez didn't want to commit long-term to Buffalo and Matt Hawk was ready to commit long-term. And that was the difference. Bojorquez wanted a 1-year deal. Hawk was willing to sign 3, and we went with the 3-year deal. Now, I know that we're not completely done. I know that we're in talks about Zach Ertz trade. We're the only suitors I hear now, so that could happen. And Brandon Beane talked about talking to other free agents of the Bills, McKenzie and Josh Norman, possibly to bring them back. And then I know he wants to bring in a pass rusher in free agency so we can go best player available in the draft. So, like I said, next week this could be completely different because they could add 3 or 4 players. But right now, that's what it is. I still think that all the other teams are looking up a little bit. There's enough to say for solidarity. We were 13-3 AFC Championship team, and we bring back all of our starters except for 1. So I think that we're in good shape. And if we want to add a tight end to put us over the top, I think that would be beneficial. And if we added another receiver on top of Emmanuel Sanders and ran 5 wide, I wouldn't be opposed to that either because we passed more than any team in the league.
Overall, where do you think you stand in the total AFC? I think everyone can agree that we think the Bills are actually going to win the division no matter how much we like picking on you.
Second, I still think Kansas City's better. They're re-signing their offensive linemen. They are bringing back offensive linemen now, which I didn't want them to do. But they got Kyle Long. He signed with them today.
They have, 4 guards now? Joe Thuney, their 2 guards, and Kyle Long?
Kyle Long. Yeah, one of them's might play center. I think Kyle Long might play center because he played center or guard. But anyways, they re-signed Mike Remmers, who played tackle for them when Mitchell Schwartz was out last year.
Okay, hold on.
They cut him and re-signed him, yes.
They re-signed the man who has lost 2 team Super Bowls?
Yes, they re-signed him. But it's a really cheap deal. We'll go over that when we go over to Kansas City. But I think Buffalo is second in the AFC still to the Chiefs.
Well, the Chiefs have Mike Remmers, so I'm putting you as first.
And then other than that, I still think that that's pretty much it for the Bills. Now let's talk about the Patriots.
Hello, I'm Bill Belichick. I have
Okay.
spent all my money. I have no more money.
They haven't
I
spent
paid
it all
Nelson
yet.
Aguilar a lot of money for Cam Newton to never throw to him.
Well, yeah, let's go through.
Any
So
questions?
Cam Newton re-signing. What do you think?
On to
What's your
Cincinnati.
What's your plan at quarterback? Are you going to bring in competition or?
On to Cincinnati.
I'm so tempted. Okay. Since you took Mitchell Trubisky, we're on to Cincinnati.
I actually hear the Patriots are interested in Marcus Mariota. What do you think about that potentially?
Marcus Mariota played really well for the Raiders in the game where Derek Carr tore his groin or whatever he did. I don't know. He played very well. He went, I think he went 19 of 23 or 19 of 24.
Yeah.
His passes, he had very nice spirals. He played very well. And he has that connection with Nelson Aguilar. So if they bring in Marcus Mariota, he can hit Nelson Aguilar deep. So
Patriots spent a lot, and we'll go through it really quick. Nelson Aguilar, 2 years, $26 million.
don't like at all.
Kendrick
I like
Bourne,
Nelson
3 years.
Aguilar, just not in the Patriots offense.
Kendrick Bourne, 3 years, 22.
I like that. I actually like that deal.
Then they got Hunter Henry, 3 years, 37.
I like
The only
both
problem-
tight ends because I think Bill is going to go back to the double tight ends.
The only problem is with
Cam
Hunter.
can throw. Cam likes throwing to the bigger receivers / tight ends.
Yeah. The only problem is his health. I mean, he hasn't stayed healthy very often. But then they got
So-
Johnny Smith.
So
Go ahead.
do we ask the question we discussed in the group chat about that?
Oh yeah, we will. I'm gonna go over that. 4 year, $50 million for Janu.
I don't think.
The question is for everybody, for all of our viewers, and I want your input, everybody. Now, if this was a true Hernandez Gronk situation, right? Who would be the murderer in this situation? Would it be Hunter Henry or Janu Smith?
Jonu Smith, dude's a
why?
cold-blooded killer.
I think Hunter Henry. I mean, he's got that reserve side to him. He could just
Hunter
snap at any
Henry's the-
minute.
Hunter Henry's the quiet kid in the back of the class. It's definitely Henry.
I think it's definitely Hunter Henry. I think it would be him more than Janu
I don't know.
Smith.
Jonu Smith seems like he's hiding everything every time he does an interview, and it reminds me of Hernandez. And this is how
Did you
our
bars
career
lately?
as football talkers.
Did you watch
ended.
the interview with Janu Smith when the smoke alarm was going off?
No. The latest interview I watched was today, where
It was yesterday.
one of them was like, so where do you rate among tight ends? He's like the best of all time. And then the reporter's like,
That's why Bill Belichick signed him. He's Bill Belichick Jr.
and so the reporter's like, so you think you're better than how Gronk was, Tony Gonzalez, or better than Travis Kelce and George Kittle right now? Johnny looks at the reporter. He's like, ma'am, I said best of all time.
It's hilarious. Duh, I said best of all time. What do you think that means?
On to Cincinnati.
That is a very Bill Belichickian answer.
It is.
We're going to get Nelson Aguilar instead of his long speeches at the end of games. He's going to be like, and I conclude with, on to Cincinnati.
But Janu hasn't had a 600-yard season in his career, so we'll see about the best of all time talk.
He's played big when he's had to. I mean,
he was
He's been prohibited by
Delaney.
that offense.
Yeah, and he was behind Delaney Walker for a long time. That's why I want to see him in this offense. Maybe it's a little bit different. But 2 tight end sets don't really work that much in the NFL anymore. We'll have to see how they do it, though. They're gonna, if they use it, they have to use it like the Ravens. Remember when the Ravens had Mark Andrews and Hayden Hurst a couple years ago, and they used that a lot?
Wasn't it literally 2 years ago?
Yeah, the year before last. Yeah, they had Hayden Hurst, and they used that formation a lot there, and it worked for them because of the run option.
Because Lamar Jackson can't aim. He's like Cam Newton. They just chuck it up there.
See, a lot of the people that use 2 tight end sets will keep one in as a blocker, and if you're going to use it effectively, you got to stress the defense with it, put pressure on the linebackers. You got to send them both out for routes, and I think
I think
that's kind of what New England did.
Janu, if they are a blocker, they're gonna use him to block John, who's a better blocker than Hunter Henry.
Especially in the AFC, I like 2 tight end sets
But
because I think
do you really want?
overall the AFC has some of the weaker linebackers, especially
Right.
they're not going to have to play against Dante Hightower or Kyle Van Noy. So
Well,
like,
Especially
maybe I
the-
hear Dante Hightower might be on his way out, but we'll see about that if they do that.
but right now, like
I have a
the 2
question, like,
linebackers
how
you have
do
to
you-
worry about are Darius Leonard and Matt Milano.
How do you feel about the price point of 12.5 per tight end? That's 25 million for 2 tight ends.
Well, that's wide receiver 1 and 2. So
Yeah,
mean-
that's how I look at them. I think that's where they are. Just the more I was looking back on how they signed and what they did.
Do you
See,
think they're
when
going to use
Cam
them like wide receivers? Do you think they're ever going
Yeah,
to
I
line
think
them up
they're just going to
outside?
lose them like wide receivers.
they'll probably line them up outside. They'll put them in the slot at least. I think the biggest thing is when Cam Newton was successful, it was with big guys. It was with Greg Olson and Kelvin Benjamin and
Devin Funchess.
yeah, Devin Funchess. There's the other one. And
Right, he was so good with when they were all there. They were all like 6'6" big dudes.
Should have traded for Mike Evans.
and I think tight ends make a better target for quarterbacks with accuracy concerns because they're big.
That's the most concerning part to me as a Bills fan is that the tight end duo. I think that's going to help them a lot. They got back Trent Brown from the Raiders. The Raiders signed him as a free agent from the Patriots like a year or 2 ago, and they traded him back to New England. They got their old center back Ted Karras, and now they got David Andrews back. So they got both their old centers back.
What's with the AFC sending like extra line? They have 4 centers on their depth chart now.
So are they going to move one to guard? I think they're going to move one to guard.
They're going to
That's
have
my
to move
guess.
one to guard. I think either Karras or Andrews. They signed 4 defensive linemen, 2 that I never heard of, but Dietrich Wise, who was a re-sign, he was already there. Devin Godchow, he was with Miami.
They signed-
Montravius Adams, which I don't know who that is, and Henry Anderson, who used to be with the Jets. Then at linebacker, they got Matt Judon, who's going to be a pass rusher, and Kyle Van Noy.
Belichick's low key worried about the Dolphins. He's bringing them all in.
And then they got Jalen Mills, who I think is trash, but we'll see. Hopefully he plays
Got the
better.
dude with green hair.
And they got Justin Bethel as a slot corner. I think the Patriots, I mean, defensively, I think they're as good as they were 2 years ago when they were the best defense in the league. So we'll see how they step up. Now,
Oh, that's fucking cool.
Bill Belichick, what do you think? Where do you think they stand in the division? What realistically, what do you think? They were 3rd last year. Do you think they take up to 2 or?
4th.
You still think they're 4th?
Well,
Alright.
you said 4th originally, and just the more I've thought about it, and the more I've just looked at what other teams are doing, I think they'll split games with the Jets, but I think Jets will win more games
Alright.
outside.
I think that the Jets sneakily did great. Do you want me to read them to you, Cody, or do you have the list?
I can get it up. I have it on here. Just
I can just
Check
read
my
them if you
phone.
want. They signed. I can just get your analysis. They signed Josh Adams. That was a re-sign. They signed Keelan Cole 1 year, 5.5. What do you think about that?
I actually really like that signing. 'Cause that's the one receiver I thought Jacksonville needed to keep. I think he's really underrated as a receiver, and he's better as a 2 or a 3. But he's also a dangerous punt returner.
Then they got Corey Davis, 3 years, 37. I think that's a great signing. I love Corey Davis, but what do you
That's
think about
probably first or second favorite signing out of all of them.
that? Then they got Carl Lawson, 3 years, 45 million.
That's
a good
another
signing.
good one. I like that one too. It
got-
immediately helps out their pass rush because they were awful.
Yeah, I think I agree with you completely. They got Gerard Davis. If they keep CJ Mosley, that's good. I don't think he's a good linebacker. I don't think he's great though. If they get rid of CJ Mosley. What do you think about Gerard Davis? 1 year, 7 mil.
I actually like it. I was surprised that he only took a 1-year deal, but I think he might want to retry the market next year.
Marcus May on the franchise tag.
I'm curious if he's gonna sign it because I think he's probably pretty pissed off.
I think he's pretty pissed off too. Then they got Justin Hardy, who's a DB, like a special teamer. And they got LaMarcus Joyner just signed, 1 year, 4.5 million. He's gonna play safety and slot corner.
I think that's actually a really good move. That's a
'cause
really good move because
Saleh says he's gonna use him like he used to Jimmy Ward.
it also brings a veteran presence in. And
Yeah.
they got rid of all their veteran presence last year when Gase was trying to dismantle the team that he failed to build.
Trying, he did.
I hear that I'm gonna say he just wants to play safety. He doesn't want to play slot corner anymore. That's what LaMarcus Joyner said, and the reason he didn't go back to the Raiders because they used him at slot corner. He didn't want to play nickel corner anymore. He wants to go back to safety. So the Jets will probably line him up next to Marcus May at safety. Anyways, so we're going to go on to the AFC North. And news about the Bills before we do it. They're earning on every tight end. They're going to add a tight end before the free agency's over too. So we'll see who they get. All right. So who's got the Ravens?
That was me.
Oh, all right. Ravens guy. They
Honestly,
signed tight end Josh Oliver. They traded the Jaguars for a conditional late round pick. They got Kevin Zeitler, 3 years, $22 million guard. That's a big get for them. Because they lost Judon and they lost
Ngakwe.
Yannick Ngakwe, they re-signed Tyus Bowser, 4 years.
I think they
$22
should have
million
re-signed Tyus Bowser no matter what. He played really well.
And they re-signed Pernell McPhee, their other defensive end. So they had their rotational defensive ends now. I think they might still need to add one, but we'll see. Then they re-signed defensive tackle Justin Ellis, and they signed Derek Wolfe, defensive tackle.
Yeah,
That's it.
I really like that re-signing of Derek Wolfe.
They re-signed a bunch of guys, and the only guy they got is Kevin Zeitler, really.
So I think. Oh, what's their cap space look like now? I don't remember.
Not good. Yeah, it's not good.
Are they negative or barely above?
Everybody has to be above now. The new league year started.
Oh, okay.
If you're not above the salary cap, you get fined big time.
Oh.
So everybody should be above the salary cap now.
Do?
They restructured a bunch of guys and they cut 3 players.
Okay, I must have missed that. Ravens. I think they're going to get a wide receiver in free agency.
What about a defensive end?
I think that'll be addressed in the draft. I don't think there's a standout, amazing defensive end in this draft that is going to go super high. I think they're all pretty interchangeable.
Okay, fair enough. So that's it. What do you give them, grade-wise, for your Ravens?
B-. Lost a lot of dudes. They did address guard, which was one of the shittier positions on their team. I'd like them to get a center.
Fair enough.
Because they're, and I'd like them to get a big body wide receiver.
Yeah, that would help Lamar a lot. Somebody huge. All right. So
I think they're the second best team in the division.
Now we're on to Cincinnati.
Hey, that's me.
Literally on to Cincinnati. Who's Cincinnati?
Me. That's me again. I'm back.
Cincinnati. They re-signed Brandon Allen to be their backup quarterback.
Probably a good move since they don't want to protect Joe Burrow.
They lost Carl Lawson, so they brought in Trey Hendrickson.
I think they could have kept Carl Lawson for what they paid Trey Hendrickson.
Carl Lawson wanted more guaranteed. He got a little bit more guaranteed. That's why they didn't want to do it. They signed Larry Ogunjobi.
That's from the Browns, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you bastard.
They took Chidobe Awuzie from the Cowboys.
This is where I'm jumping in, cutting Austin off. If he didn't get re-signed with Dallas, I'm so glad he went to an orange team.
Chidobe.
Clinton Dix on this team so bad. How do I sign him and how do I fire him?
Mike Hilton from Pittsburgh, the slot corner.
Mhm.
And then they
We
re-signed
lost our
Brandon
corner, didn't
Williams.
we? We lost our starting corner to Washington.
Yeah,
Yes, William
not
Jackson. Yes.
that one's one of the ones I wasn't happy about.
So they got 2 corners. They did lose their best corner though. What do you think another need might be still? And what do you think they stack in the division and what grade?
Tackle need.
Well,
Draft
Riley.
Rashawn
Oh,
Slater.
I forgot to say Riley Reef is in the building right now. He's a tackle that used to play for Minnesota that got cut.
He is not great, but
He's better
he's
than
an
what they
upgrade
have.
over what they have.
Draft Rashawn Slater if you want to
Um,
keep your job, Zach Taylor.
And what do you think they stack with all these moves divisionally?
I think they're still 4th. Like, I don't think the Steelers are going to be very good, but I think the Steelers defense will win them enough games.
I actually think. Whoops, sorry, I didn't realize you were still talking.
Oh, you're good. You're good. Mine was just finishing thoughts. You're good to talk.
Go ahead, Cody.
I was actually thinking they might be able to push 3rd, if not 2nd. They're actually bringing in guys to try to improve their team. They brought in one of the better pass rushers. I just worry about his every down ability. He was strictly a pass rusher with New Orleans. Larry Ogunjobi's a really underrated defensive tackle.
So my problem with Trey Hendrickson is like how many of his sacks came from Cam Jordan?
Yeah, and eating the double teams like Sheldon Rankins, they had a good defensive line there.
Yeah,
that
like-
defensive line imploded now too.
Yeah, they're all gone except for Cam Jordan.
Yeah, like Cam Jordan eats double teams for breakfast. And so
Now
that was my problem with Bud Dupree. Like if TJ Watt's getting double teamed, you're gonna get the sacks because
we're not talking about Bud Dupree yet.
I know, but I'm talking about pass rushers overall.
Oh.
That's Jeremy's guy. You're getting in his bias area,
It's not my guy really, but anyways. So Cleveland,
You're
I
bad.
think
If you
that
could have him as a
Cleveland,
player, you're good.
of any team in this division, I think Cleveland had the strongest free agency period so far.
I think Cleveland's the best. I think Cleveland's the best team in the division. I think
They re-signed Rashard Higgins to be wide receiver 3 or 4 or whatever it was. They got Takers McKinley if they can tap in.
Back to Trey Hendrickson for a second. I almost gave him too much credit. My internet was being slow. I was gonna say I think he only had like 30 tackles and 13 and a half of them were sacks. He actually had 25 combined tackles and 13 and a half sacks. So
All right. And then they re-signed Malcolm Smith, which they couldn't let go because then they got – this is their need. They needed secondary help. They got Troy Smith, another corner, and they got John Johnson, a safety. They needed those guys.
That secondary is going to be good. Greedy Williams.
Denzel Ward.
Grant Delpit, Denzel Ward.
Ronnie Harrison, and now John Johnson and Troy Hill. I mean, it's going to be really good.
Especially since Myles Garrett is a monster. So even if the secondary was lackluster, and now they're upgrading it even more.
I'm interested to see if they can tap into Tacker McKinley, if they can get his what he was supposed to be coming out of UCLA. Like if they can tap into that potential and not get the lazy guy.
With a true number 1 pass rusher like Myles Garrett is.
Anyways, this is your team, Cody. What do you think?
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. I mean, this is probably his best shot. They're pairing him with Myles Garrett, and I'm drawing a blank on the linebacker.
Which one? Malcolm Smith?
No, not Olivier Vernon.
Oh yeah, Olivier Vernon. That's
right.
Excuse me.
He might be a free agent actually.
I think they re-signed him.
I think he's not on the list, so they didn't re-sign him. I don't know if he's a free agent or not.
All right, let me look it up.
But I mean, get him on a team with legitimate pass rushers, and they're gonna double. If you got Tack McKinley or Myles Garrett, you're doubling Myles Garrett.
The only need I still see is linebacker on that defense.
And they can hit that in the draft. There's going to be some good linebackers falling to the back end of the draft or back end of the first round.
He's a free agent currently.
Okay, so he didn't get signed by anybody. Okay.
I mean, I think John Johnson was a huge signing. He can play either safety position. Troy Hill, another guy from the Rams defense who was also fairly underrated or under the radar anyway. I like what they've done so far.
Now, do you agree with Austin that this is the best team in the division?
I do. I mean, I don't think Pittsburgh's going to be very good because they had to restructure a bunch of people and let a bunch of people go they would normally would have kept to be under the salary cap.
Right.
Baltimore is good until Lamar Jackson gets hurt, as long as he's running. If he tries to be a drop back passer again, they're not going to do very well. Cincinnati's up and coming, but I do think the Browns are the most complete team in the division. And
So I am Pittsburgh, and I think they did everything they could do. They were pretty shitty though. Got Ray McLeod. He's a good returner. I'm okay with that. Zach Banner re-signing. They needed that because they lost both their other starting tackles, Villanueva. They lost Pouncey on the offensive line. They signed B.J. Finney to be their center. He was up and down. I don't think he was very good. And they brought back Cameron Sutton. They just have problems now. They lost all their pass rushers. Bud Dupree, Vince Williams is gone. They lost Sean Davis, their safety. They lost at least Mike Hilton in the corner spot. They're probably going to lose Juju. They lost 3 members of their offensive line. They lost James Conner. I just don't know how competitive the team will be. I mean, they're going to have to draft really well because they don't have any money. So, yeah. But they did this to themselves. I mean, it is what it is. All right. So the Steelers, I honestly think probably third, maybe second. I like Mike Tomlin as a coach. He always gets the best out of his players, but I don't see him winning the division again.
I haven't met fourth.
I know. It's just that the Steelers never finish fourth ever.
Oh,
so-
they're on
I
the
just have no
decline now.
trust in Zach Taylor at all. I think Zach Taylor will be fired by the end of the season.
All right. So we're on to the South. I'm going to give one team in the South to Cody.
I don't know which team Warren had.
The
You have
Texans.
the Texans.
It's the first
Oh,
team. It's the first
I
team
think
right now.
that's unfair to Austin. Austin wanted the Texans.
All right. You can have the Texans, Austin. All right. So Austin,
Deshaun Watson is his quarterback.
they brought in Tyrod.
So
1 year, 5.5.
am I
That could be
skipping
12.
over? Hold on. There's a very important Deshaun Watson thing that needs to be talked about. Are we skipping that? Are we making a whole video about that?
We will mention it at the end. Let's talk about everything else first. We can
Okay.
mention. I don't want to talk too much about it because we don't have all the information yet. But we can mention it a little while.
Because that's like the most important piece of their free agency moves right now.
All right. So Tyrod's there 5.5 up to 12. Will he start if Sean Watson doesn't play there?
Yes.
Okay. Mark Ingram, they brought him in 1 year, $3 million. You like that?
Yeah, I think him and David Johnson splitting carries will be better for both of them. They're both aging.
I think so too. They got Andre Roberts, their All-Pro and Pro Bowl return man, 2 years, $6 million. That's good. They got a tight end, Farrell Brown, and they traded today for Ryan Izzo from the Patriots.
Who
They traded.
was awful, but
Yeah, whatever. They traded for Marcus Cannon from the Patriots again. They signed Justin Britt and Justin McRae, guards. They acquired Shaq Lawson from the Dolphins for Bernardrick McKinney. They signed Malik Collins. They signed Grugier Hill. They signed Christian Kirksey. They signed Terrence Mitchell. They re-signed Vernon Hargraves. They signed Desmond King. And they signed a safety, Terrence Brooks, and a special teamer in Tavarius Thomas. What do you think about all those moves? That's all.
I think we just needed to rebuild our roster. So signing as many players as possible makes sense. Signing some of the veteran players to help out our younger players.
They're not on the list. They just signed 2 receivers, Alex Erickson, who used to play for the Bengals, and Dante Moncrief. Both of them just signed with the Texans too.
Makes sense. They lost Will Fuller. So Brandon Cooks is your number 1. So.
Yeah, so tell me, honestly, do you think those moves help them? Do you think they're any better for them? I mean,
They're 4th. That's where I have them. I think they'll be the worst team in the NFL next year.
You think they'll be the worst?
Worst team in the NFL with that if they don't have Deshaun Watson.
All right, fair enough. Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about?
Outside of the Deshaun Watson news, no.
All right. That's a really weird situation. We'll talk about it briefly. It's alleged by a lawyer in Texas that he
You tried getting erotic massages from
yes.
massage.
Yes, and he asked them to touch him inappropriately, and apparently he tried to touch them inappropriately, according to reports. Now, the attorney says he's got multiple texts from Deshaun Watson to the victims that'll prove the wrongdoing. He released one wave of text messages. Apparently, they proved nothing. I haven't read them personally, but multiple people say they had no proof of wrongdoing in them. The attorney says he's got more with actual proof, so we'll see. I mean, I don't know.
It's just no one has all the information yet. It's just a thing that actually needs to be talked about, especially with him being on, with him wanting out. This could severely hurt him wanting out. And I think we could get to the thing where if it's proven that he did it, we could be aware the Texans might have to cut him. I've seen talked about a lot.
All right. Yeah, that's going to be talked about a lot. Now, that being said, it seems like the Texans finally realized that he's going to be traded outside of that. What do you think about that?
Makes sense. They couldn't be in denial forever.
All right, hold on.
They'll get a massive draft haul for him. So if you want to rebuild your team, there's a way to do it.
So apparently, I'm just looking at these text messages. I moved here from Wisconsin. Okay. Okay. I mean, that's nothing. Oh. So one of them just says that he wanted somebody to massage his glute area. That's all it says, which is no proof of wrongdoing. The second text
When you
message
go to a
says,
massage and you're an athlete, isn't that what you get?
Yeah. And the second text says, "Sorry about you feeling uncomfortable. Never were that the intentions. Let me know if you want to work in the future. My apologies." So he apologized for making somebody feel uncomfortable, but that doesn't prove he sexually assaulted anybody.
Yeah, like you can make someone uncomfortable just by looking at them. I don't know. I tend to believe the victim, as you and I have talked about. Just it's hard to choose a side when we don't know either side personally, and
Right.
the proof that has been presented to us is not actual proof.
I think that that's fair. Normally, I am a very stand with the victim type of person, but I just don't. I don't know. We'll double back on this when there's more information. There's not really anything out there right now, so.
You want to go to the Colts?
Yeah. Who was the Colts? Oh, fair enough. The Colts made two moves: Carson Wentz in a trade, and Marlon Mack re-signed 1 year, $2 million.
Marlon Max, whatever, he's going to be a backup. He won't play very much. Carson Wentz, I stated before, don't think he's good. Think he's overrated and a crybaby. But if anyone's going to make him good, it's Frank Reich.
They have tight end Mo Wiley Cox there, and they have apparently they're in the talks. So the Bills have been in the talks for the Zach Ertz trade the whole time. The Eagles are trying to maximize their value. Nobody's willing to go to up to a third, which is what they want. The Bills don't have a fourth, so I'm guessing that they're offering a fifth. That's my guess, because we don't have a fourth, and we're not going as high as a third because they would have taken it. So They've talked to the Bills the whole time. Now the Colts reached out and the Rams reached out. I don't know, but nobody's willing to go up to a third. So the Colts, I guess, are in the mix for a Zach Ertz trade. That could happen.
Send him a fifth and a seventh.
They don't want it. That's what the Bills offered. They want something. They want a third or a fourth. The Bills won't go to three.
It's
They don't
hard
have
to
a
get a
fourth.
third for a player who has actively been told he will be out. Like they'll just cut him.
Yeah, and for who actively, everybody in the world knows he doesn't want to be there.
Yeah, that's like, and he's not the best player at his position, or the second best.
No, I'd say he's like 5 to 7 range.
Number one, in my opinion, is either George Kittle or Travis Kelce, depending on the year. Last
I'll
year,
fight about it.
Travis
I'll fight about
Kelce.
it. It's Travis Kelce, and I'll fight about it.
I think it's George Kittle, but I appreciate blocking more than
I
receiving.
think it's Darren Waller because he can do both.
I
So
think
can George Kittle. The most talked
not
about
a
George
great-
the
Kittle.
thing about it is this is an
George Kittle's an
unfair.
amazing blocker. He's
It's
the
an unfair
highest rated tight end
conversation
blocker.
because we're talking about something that Travis Kelce's not asked to do. Tell me when Travis Kelce stays in a block. Never. They don't have him stay in ever. So how can we say that somebody's
That's why
better
I
than
don't
him
like
because he's
talking
not
about
asked to do
Travis
it?
Kelce as a tight end. Just people get mad when you rate him as a receiver. The man led the NFL in receiving yards until like week 13.
The thing is, like, Travis Kelce is the best receiving tight end in NFL history.
Because in the job description of a tight end, it says you have to block.
It doesn't say that, though. It says you have to do what your team asks you to do, and they don't ask him to block.
They don't
Well,
ask
then
Vita
you
Vea
better
to
be
run the
pissed
ball,
with the
but he's
Chiefs
the
for
best at
taking the
doing
knock
it.
on him.
I mean, look at, like, Tony Gonzalez. He wasn't the best blocker. I mean, he was good, but he wasn't the best blocker. He was a good receiver. He's the best tight end of all time. Players like Shannon Sharp, he wasn't the best blocker, but he was a good receiver.
He also has a good mouth. He's like Jimmy Hurt.
But the thing is, like, Travis Kelce to me is asked to do one thing, to run routes and catch the ball, and he does
But
it better
George
than any
Kittle
tight end.
can also, George Kittle set the receiving yards record that Travis Kelce just broke, and George Kittle was on pace to break his own
You know, they
record
both
this year
broke it.
before he got hurt.
They both broke it that same year.
Even though
4 straight 1,000-yard seasons for Travis Kelce. Never been done by a tight end in NFL history.
the Raiders didn't have the greatest receiving core and you knew you had to take out Darren Waller still puts up huge numbers every game. He doesn't have the Tyreek Hills and the Sammy Watkins last year and everybody else take the pressure off him. George Kittle has the run game to take the pressure off him because, I mean, sometimes they only throw the ball 5 times. And they do.
Yeah.
Anyways,
The playoffs, they threw the ball 8
Colts are
times.
going to sign a tight end.
They could, yes. We were talking
That
about
is
that.
not
I
how
don't
the
even know
debate
how.
ends. We all
I
got
don't-
to pick a different tight end and fight to the death.
I don't even know
Travis
why we got on the
Travis
best tight
Kelce's
ends and why we're
third.
arguing about this. I just feel like I don't know. Travis Kelce is until they ask him to block and he physically can't. I'm not going to say he can't block. They don't.
I
Ask.
mean, like in the Super Bowl,
Did they ask him to block in the Super Bowl?
they did 4 times, and 4 times he was murdered.
Well, that's not what he does.
Then
Oh, he must be a cat.
that's why
Yeah.
I put him in with wide receivers, because that's what I consider him as. Like Kyle Pitts, I think is a wide receiver, just he's big.
Travis Kelce's big for sure. I think.
Yeah,
I
so
don't
he's
know,
gonna get put as a tight end. Like
I think Travis Kelce is going to go down numbers wise as the best tight end in NFL history. And 10 years from now, when they don't look at tape and care that he didn't block, people are going to call him the best tight end
people
ever.
still care that Tony Gonzalez didn't block.
Yeah, but is he listed as the greatest tight end of all time right now? Yeah, people
No.
say he's the greatest tight end of all time.
No, people don't.
No one says he's the greatest of all time. They say
It
he's
just
one
says
of
he's
the
one
greatest.
of the best.
One of the greatest.
There's like
Who
there's
do
no
people
like
say is the
goat
greatest
at
tight end
that
of all time?
position. Like Jerry Rice is the best wide receiver. Tom Brady's the best quarterback. Like there's no goat at
I
tight
don't
end. We're
know.
all like,
I don't know about that Jerry Rice thing either.
I'm
Like,
gonna say some random ass Bills receiver.
no.
Nah, dude,
No
he's
Bills-
going to Bill's special teamer.
No.
It's,
No Bills receiver is ever as good as Jerry Rice. I'm not that much of a
it's
homer.
Steve Tasker.
I just think that Jerry Rice, I don't know. He played till he's 41. I mean, no
He played
receiver in
until
today's
he had
NFL is going to
1,000-yard
play
season
till
at
they're 41.
Okay, but how many 40-year-olds, even if they did play till they were 40, would have 1,000-yard season?
With
I don't know.
his quarterback
He
was
is
what? Mike
he
Gannon?
he Rich Gannon. Thank you.
Whatever.
uh, he's not. I don't know. I like Jerry
Weren't
Rice a
you
lot.
the one like 2 months ago who posted Jerry Rice was the #1 wide receiver?
No, I
What
think
the
I posted
fuck
that Larry
happened?
I think I posted Larry Fitzgerald as number one wide receiver. Anyways, forget it. Jerry Rice is the best. Whatever. We'll
We're
just
just
say
gonna
he's the best.
argue
I
who
can't
the
think.
best is of every
can't-
position as we
I
go.
can't think of anybody better than Jerry Rice. So I guess
Best
I'll have to. I guess
offensive
I'll have to say it.
lineman.
There are people that could have been better than Jerry Rice, but didn't have a long career.
Mike
He
Evans.
couldn't put in the effort.
Best wide receiver. Mike Evans
I mean,
has done
Ray
something Jerry,
Caruth
only Jerry
never
Rice
really
and
had
Randy
a
Moss have
chance.
done.
I mean, Larry Fitzgerald, if he had better quarterbacks these last 3 or 4 years, could have been closer. But
Larry Fitzgerald has 16 different quarterbacks, was some statistic I read.
yeah, he's had so many different quarterbacks in his career. He's
Ryan
played with.
Fitzpatrick has played for 32 NFL teams. What's your point?
Every game is revenge.
But, I mean, he played for what? John Skelton and
Who?
Kevin Cobb.
Exactly, John Skelton.
Who?
John Skelton and Kevin Cobb. Kevin Cobb was an Eagles backup who made big money and got cut by the Raiders.
And then he went to Arizona and he sucked. John Skelton was a draft pick that was terrible.
Yeah, that was bad. That was like Dan Orlovsky.
So
bad.
is Kurt Warner the best quarterback to throw to him? Kurt
Yeah.
Warner.
Kurt
in
Warner
2000?
probably. Carson
far.
Palmer
The
arguably.
second best. Kurt Warner's the best. Carson Palmer's the second best to ever throw to him. Yeah.
And then Kyler Murray is third in his second year.
I would say that he's probably third. I mean, he's played with some shit quarterbacks.
Did he play with Jake Plummer or not? Because if he played with Jake Plummer, I'm putting him 3 and Murray 4.
I think he might have been there late, maybe late Jake Plummer's career. I know he got drafted in 2004. I don't remember when Jake Plummer left.
I
think
can't either off
Murray,
the top of my
at
head.
the end of it all, will be the best quarterback in Arizona's history.
Kyler Murray's gonna get murdered before year 6.
I don't think
I
so.
don't know.
He's fast as hell, and he doesn't take big hits.
Speed fades, though. Overtime speed fades. Anyways, so now that we got off topic a little bit there,
Just a little bit.
you want to talk about running backs? I think the best running back of all time is either Barry Sanders or Walter Payton.
I can't argue it because I would agree with it.
Since we just talked about murderers, what about O.J. Simpson?
Hey,
Hey,
he had
is
2,000
innocent.
yards in 14 games, so
He's innocent until proven guilty, by the way.
I would say he was innocent anyway. It was a setup from the beginning.
Anyways, yeah, right. He had 2,000 yards in 14 games. Anyways, enough about O.J. Simpson and murderers. Let's move on. Where were we? What were we talking about?
I'm
Who's
going to
Jacksonville?
title this video Murderers with 2 question marks.
Oh, we talked about Hunter Henry and Jonathan Smith being murderers too. Jesus, talking about murderers a lot today. Anyways, who's Jacksonville?
Cody.
All right, Cody. Carlos Hyde, 2 years, $6 million. Jamal Agnew, 3 years, $21 million. They signed Philip Dorsett. Marvin Jones, 1 year, $7 million. Cam Robinson signed his tag. They re-signed Dwayne Smoot. They got Tyson Alalu from the Steelers. Jihad Ward, some guy named Malcolm Brown.
Yeah.
Roy Robertson Harris. Sidney Jones they re-signed. They got Shaquille Griffin, Rayshawn Jenkins, and Rudy Ford.
I actually like a lot of their signings. Outside of maybe not Carlos Hyde so much because I don't think that his injury history is what concerns me. I know he has a track record with Urban Meyer, so that part of it makes sense.
That's really why they signed him, because he's familiar with Urban Meyer.
But outside of their track record and stuff, I think that his injury history is more of a concern for me than what any kind of track record is with a coach. I think that there are better options out there to take some of the pressure off of James Robinson. I think that you get a guy that has proven they can stay healthy and they can a guy that has proven they can stay healthy and you can actually rotate him in and out because there's going to come a time when you're going to need him and he's going to go down and he's going to hurt the team in that sense because who do they have behind uh, Robinson and Hyde?
Nobody right now, I don't think, anyways.
Yeah, I think I just think they could have done better at that spot, but I understand it too.
Breaking, kind of. Kenny Galladay is expected to take a physical for the Giants tomorrow and meet with the GM and head coach. He spent all day there today too. So
That offense is going to be terrifying. We talked about that in that chat.
we'll talk about it again later.
Daniel Jones is going to fall down and throw an interception or
I'm
something.
just saying, Daniel Jones had a longer rushing yards or longer rush than Ezekiel Elliott ever had.
So grade for the
Who
Jags.
tackled him?
Himself.
The turf monster.
So
Who
great
made
for the
Ezekiel
Jags. And where
Elliott
you think
gain
they're going to
90
be?
pounds.
Considering my thoughts on Carson Wentz, this is a hard division to place. I think the Titans are the best team in the division. The Jags could legitimately push to 2, or they could be 4th and go 0-16. But so far, I like most of their moves. I'd probably give them a B- so far. They do need some edge help. They really needed safety help, and they addressed that pretty well. Bringing in Shaquille Griffin was huge. Sidney Jones coming back's big. They really beefed up their defense.
C.J. Henderson still too. That their rookie, second-year player now.
Yep, the C.J. Henderson's was one of the better rookie cornerbacks. Malcolm Brown's a huge acquisition in the middle of that defensive line, literally and figuratively. They struggled in all areas from generating pass rush to stopping the run, and I actually like their linebacker core, so I love what they did up front.
They still have Miles Jack still.
Miles Jack and Joe Schobert, who's a very underrated middle linebacker that no one ever heard of because he played for the Browns and the Jags.
Fair enough. All right, so now let's talk about Tennessee. Tennessee lost a bit. They lost Corey Davis, and they lost
Johnny Smith.
Jonnu Smith. They cut Adoree Jackson and Malcolm Butler, their starting corners. They cut Kenny Vaccaro, and then they lost a couple pieces on that defensive line like Javian Clowney and somebody else. They did bring in Anthony Ferkser while they re-signed. They re-signed Jeff Swain, so the other tight ends that were on there. They brought in Danico Autry from the Colts to take the spot of Clowney. They re-signed linebacker J.M. Brown. They brought in Bud Dupree to rush the passer. But the biggest question mark is why cut Adoree Jackson and Malcolm Butler to get worse corners? They got Kevin Johnson and Janoris Jenkins. I just don't like the swap. Adoree Jackson is so fast. It's hard to make up for that speed. So overall, I give it like a C. I think they lost. They got some good pieces, but they lost more than they gained to me. And I think they're gonna still finish probably first or second in the division though. They have Derrick Henry, and he's big and he's a monster. All right. Any comments on the Titans' state of affairs?
I'm torn with them. Like J.M. Brown coming back's huge for them because before he got hurt, their defense was a lot better, and when J.M. Brown went down, the Texans' defense got a lot worse.
What about like?
I don't understand why they would cut.
Go ahead.
Unless there's more to Adoree Jackson's knee injury from last year than what they were.
Everybody says he's
what
supposed
was
to be
led
fine.
on.
Everybody says he's going to be fine. He's going to be ready to start the season.
Yeah, so
mean,
unless there's more to it that we're not aware of, it doesn't make sense to outright cut him because you could have got decent draft picks for him.
well, another good corner, Kyle Fuller, just got cut. He's a good corner too.
Were they in a bad cap space?
Yeah.
Like, is that why they could have?
Well, the Titans were in a little bit of, yeah.
Well, Adoree Jackson's still on his rookie deal, isn't he? Or wasn't he?
Last year, I think it was last year, second to last year of it. I don't. He was a first round pick. I just remember that.
Yeah, I think he was still on his rookie deal, which is why it's as surprising. They did get two decent cornerbacks, but no one to the caliber of what they lost. And Dory Jackson was also their kick returner when he was healthy. So I
I
don't
heard
think
the
Kevin
Malcolm
Johnson or
Butler
Janoris Jenkins are going
cut
to take up
was
those roles.
more locker room wise, not.
Yeah, but we're
play-wise.
wondering about Dory Jackson. I just don't understand why Dory Jackson. He's super fast too, unless like you said, unless his knee's worse than they thought. But he's a super fast guy, and he can make up. That was what was super beneficial to Dory Jackson. He could get beat and then make it up with his speed before the ball got there. But
Yeah, I just don't know what. I don't understand that move. The only thing I could think of was that the knee was still an issue or more of an issue than they had let on.
so let's
I know when he came back,
go ahead.
I know when he came back, he didn't play great.
Fresh
Or
off injury though.
how he had normally played, but I mean, he was out for most of the season, so he's going to be rusty, I think.
I just think that I just don't get it. Like you said, they probably could have gotten something for him in a trade. All right, so let's go to the AFC West. Who's the Broncos?
That was me, I think.
I'm the Raiders.
Yeah, that's me then. We need a quarterback. Our quarterback sucks.
All right, so you got Mike Boone, running back. You re-signed Shelby Harris, defensive tackle. You brought in Ronald Darby, 3 years, $30 million, and you franchise tag Justin Simmons. That's it.
We need our defense was ranked 27th, so keeping Shelby Harris, signing Ronald Darby's good. Excuse me. I'd like to see us get a little bit better there. Our linebacker core is not the best. It's the nicest way of saying it. And when you have to play Darren Waller and Travis Kelce 2 times a year, having good tight ends is necessary. Our biggest need is quarterback. We need a quarterback. We don't have a quarterback. We need one. Any questions?
No, I guess you need a quarterback.
We need a quarterback. Drew Lock is not the guy.
All right, Warren was the Chiefs, so I guess I'll take it. They
I want all
signed.
Warren's teams.
Fine. All right, Austin.
I can
Kansas
replace
City Chiefs got-
Warren. I can replace Warren.
All right, so I'll let you know the moves. Oh well, what grade do you give the Broncos, and where do you think they rank in the division right now?
Last, I give them a B plus, but they play in a division. Oh wait, no. Third. Raiders are last. Raiders don't have an offensive line.
All right, fair enough. Now, the Kansas City Chiefs, they re-signed Blake Bell. They brought in Kyle Long off retirement. They signed guard Joe Thuney, 5 years, $80 million. They brought back Mike Remmers, 1 year, $3.5 million, and they re-signed Taco Charlton. They brought in offensive line and re-signed 2 guys. That's it.
So we needed to rebuild our offensive line after we were embarrassed in the Super Bowl. This is kind of our way to do it. We're going to slot our 4 guards around throughout the offensive line.
Who's going to play left tackle, though?
Probably whoever we draft.
All right. What do you think? They still the best team in the division?
No, I think the Chargers are going to be better. hot take, but
I think you're crazy, but okay, we'll see.
mediocrely warm take. I've heard that from a
Um,
lot of people. Like they think they'll be better. Justin Herbert another year. Get Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert has Keenan Allen. Names what? Mike Davis, is that his name? Mike Williams?
yes, Mike Williams, the
The
receiver.
big receiver, big body receiver.
Yeah.
Get him a tight end to replace Hunter Henry. Their defense is pretty good.
Well, they got one. They signed Jared Cook.
Oh, yeah, he got from the Saints. For some reason, I thought he signed with the Rams.
No. The
Thanks, a
Raiders.
different team.
The Raiders brought in Kenyon Drake and Theo Riddick, 2 running backs. They cut Gabe Jackson. Well, traded him. Sorry, they ended up trading him to Seattle. They traded their center to Arizona. They cut and then re-signed Richie Incognito, which I don't understand. They traded Trent Brown back to the Patriots. Interesting moves. They let Joyner walk. But anyways, they signed Kenyon Drake and Theo Riddick. They're bringing in John Brown, probably to replace the Aguilar role, I would assume. They re-signed Zay Jones. They re-signed Richie Incognito, like I said. They brought in Nick Martin to replace Rodney Hudson. They brought in Yannick Ngakoue. Jonathan Hankins re-signed. They brought in Quentin Jefferson, who used to play for Buffalo too. They brought in Solomon Thomas, and they brought back linebacker Nicholas Morrow. What do you think of those moves, Cody? What jumps up at you?
I don't think they know what the hell they're doing. I mean, a lot of these moves look freaking great, and then other moves are head scratchers, to say the least. I mean,
What's a
poor
head
Mike,
scratcher?
cutting Richie Incognito to re-sign him, that one's kind of head scratching. Restructuring probably would have been better, but unless he didn't have any dead money, I guess I didn't look that far into it. Nick Martin makes sense, but he's a downgrade from Rodney Hudson. You trade Trent Brown. I don't know what they're gonna do with their offensive line. The whole offensive line situation's head scratching. What they did on the defensive side of the ball, on the other hand, was great. Theo Riddick, I think that's a depth signing, I guess, special teams guy.
What about Kenyon Drake?
I actually like that because Josh Jacobs is good for a couple missed games a year, and Kenyon Drake's also a change of pace back and a guy that'll catch the ball out of the backfield when Derek Carr's in pump formation to throw the ball. I think that unless the Raiders have some moves that they're not talking about offensive line wise, I think they're going to have to address that early in the draft. Probably 2 of their top picks, which could have been better used at other positions. But I do like what they did with the defense because they brought in guys to get pressure on Mahomes. And, much like the Raiders, the Chiefs have gutted their offensive line. And the Raiders were the only team to beat the Chiefs already last year. So I think they're thinking if they can get pressure on Mahomes and get the ball back, they might be able to get some short fields and kick enough field goals to win.
So I have a comment on the Raiders. A question. Is John Gruden still living on the high of beating his own team in the Super Bowl in 2002? Is that the only reason he's the Raiders head coach?
That's not the only reason because the Davises love John Gruden.
They absolutely love him.
Mike Mayock, I feel bad for because while he has the GM title, he's not actually the GM in John Gruden's contract. He has full control of roster and personnel moves.
They supposedly make them together, but they don't. They really don't. Like John Gruden might ask him, but John Gruden makes the decisions.
I think what happens is John Gruden does something like cuts Rodney Hudson and Gabe Jackson, and Mike Mayock comes in and goes, "The hell you doing? Trade them. If you don't want them, trade them because we can get something out of these guys. You can't just cut people."
Yeah, and then that's what they did because Rodney Hudson cost more to cut than he saved them.
Right.
Glad they traded him instead because they can get the Cardinals to eat some of that money.
Also,
Otherwise, they've lost $2 million.
Davis is cash short as an owner, I think he's the only owner not worth $1 billion.
Yeah, he's the only owner. He's worth less than 500 million.
He's worth
Yeah.
less than 500 million.
Yeah, they said he was worth like 250 million dollars.
Which, that's in 2 years the entire salary cap. So,
In 2 years, well, he's getting 312 million every owner is from that TV deal. So he's about
Right.
he's about to double his worth.
right? Well, then in 3 or 4 years, that's the entire salary cap because,
It's gonna go up to like 350 in about 4 years. They think
That's
within the
good.
next decade,
yeah, it's
it's gonna double.
he's either gonna have to sell some of it or sell the whole team. I think or the Raiders are gonna have to win now. So, I mean, to buy out Gruden's contract, I don't think he's financially able to do that.
It's like
That's
eight.
why.
It's
That's why.
$8 million. I think.
That's
right?
why I heard they cut the players because you see all these re-signings. None of them are big, huge deals except for Yannick Ngakoue. But I feel like he was cash poor, and to make all of these moves that they made, he had to get rid of the two highest paid players, which were the two offensive linemen, Gabe Jackson and Rodney Hudson.
Right, and a lot of their signings, like the Kenyon Drake signing, is a really good deal. I think. I mean, especially considering that in today's NFL, you almost need 2 decent backs.
Yeah.
$5.5 million a year. That's not bad.
Not at all.
John
So-
Brown, 1 year, could possibly make $5.5 million if he hits all his incentives. Again, not a bad deal. Theo Reddick for a $1 million deal, just over $1 million. That's not terrible.
Nope. Well, this year's like that for everybody. Everybody's getting bargains.
I think the Raiders can get bargains though, based on them being the Raiders too. They just kind of have that aura around them where people want to play for them.
That's true. Let's go through the next divisions quick. So real quick, I got the Chargers. They brought in Jared Cook today. They were in on Ertz, and then they brought in Cook instead. They signed Matt Filer, a tackle, Corey Linsley, the best center available. They re-signed corner Michael Davis, and they are bringing back Michael Badgley, the kicker. The most head-scratching move, they cut Casey Hayward. I mean, I don't know if they could have gotten anything for him. I mean, he's been hurt a couple of years, but I like these moves to protect Herbert. Their offensive line wasn't good. He was running for his life a lot last year. I like it. Jared Cook, he's older than Henry, but he can take that role pretty handily, and he's a good receiving tight end. I mean, I don't think that this team is any worse than last year. I think they're a little bit better, except for they're going to need a corner. They have to get a corner somewhere. But other than that, I think getting Derwin James back is going to be huge.
Until
like it.
week 3 of preseason when he goes down for the year.
All right. Well, anyway, but I like it. I think that they are probably the second or third best team in the division. I'll put them second. Herbert's got to take a step forward, though.
Well, you got the Chiefs third.
No, I got the Chiefs. I got the Chiefs first, and
They're
then
the last team in the AFC.
and then I have
division.
the Chargers, and then the Raiders, and then the Broncos. All right. Let's go to the NFC and talk about the East, and we'll start with Cody's Cowboys. They signed Dak to that 4-year, $160 million contract. They got Ty Nsekhe from Buffalo. I want him back. He's a swing tackle. He can play both tackles positions, but he couldn't win out either starting job. So they brought in Carlos Watkins, the defensive end, Brent Urban, Terrell Basham, which I think is the best signing other than the Dak deal. Special teamer CJ Goodwin. They brought back Jordan Lewis, which I don't know why. And their long
I'm still not happy about that one.
Their long snapper, they got Jake McQuaid because they cut whoever that long snapper.
No, they let LP Latiker walk.
Yeah.
Which I wasn't happy about that one either. Has anybody ever heard of Latiker?
Yeah, he's like their longest tenured player.
Yeah, but has anybody ever heard of him outside of the people that know who the long snapper was?
No.
Like, that's a good thing because he's never had a bad snap. Ever. He started 253 straight games, which is why he's not back, because they weren't going to let him break Jason Witten's record. That's my opinion on it. I'm going to stick to it.
So what do
These
you
2
think
games.
of these Cowboys moves, though?
I like the Dak move. I like the Ty Nsekhe move because we needed the swing tackle with Cam Irving getting a decent deal with Carolina. Um, Carlos
He's gonna start
Watkins.
over there.
Carlos Watkins. That's depth. Brent Urban, I like a little bit because he is a good run stuffer. They have him listed as a defensive end. He's going to play tackle. He's not going to play defensive end. Terrell Basham, I actually like quite a bit, especially in pass rushing situations, and to rotate. If Alden Smith doesn't come back, he can rotate in with Randy Gregory. CJ Goodwin, I like coming back because I'm a firm believer you need to keep a handful of your core special teams guys. Jordan Lewis, I absolutely hate. I wish they would have let him walk. I don't hate him personally. I just hate the signing. What did Kevin King sign for? What, 5.5 million or 5
Yeah.
million?
Oh, Desmond King or Kevin King?
Or Desmond King, yeah.
Yeah, 5.5. Yeah.
Yeah, we could have got him for less than Jordan Lewis. Jordan Lewis isn't that good. Jordan Lewis is better if you give him something to prove. If you give Jordan Lewis 14 snaps a game, he's going to play really good those 14 snaps a game. You give him 40 snaps a game, you're going to get like 3 good snaps.
Was he the one who said you can't play hard every play, or who was
No,
that?
that was Xavier Woods. I hope if they
Oh.
bring him back, I'm not going to say it because.
All right. So grade and where they are in the division for you.
Jordan Lewis is the one that went and headbutted the Giants guy.
Oh, okay.
Third and something. Stupid boneheaded plays.
So what do you think of where are they, and where are they going to be in the division?
I could see they're going to be them or the football team for first and second. The Giants have been making some good moves. I don't know. I don't think their offensive line's good enough.
They haven't made any offensive line moves. You're correct on that.
Their offensive line was terrible, and John Ross is always hurt. Devontae Booker's a good backup, but he's going to be asked to be the starter by week 7.
Kyle Rudolph they brought in. They brought in Reggie Ragland, and they're going to they're hoping to sign Galladay, but we'll see.
Kyle Rudolph, I think, is actually downgraded tight end for him. He's not as fast.
They still have Evan Ingram.
Yeah.
They didn't get rid of him yet.
That's true, but if they bring in Rudolph for 2-year deal worth around $14 million, you almost got to think they're looking at trading Ingram because that's a lot to pay back.
So I heard rumored that the Bills called about Evan Ingram. The problem to me is he's the same as Dawson Knox. They're really, really athletic. They're fast guys. They make incredible catches, but they drop all the easy catches. I don't want another Dawson Knox. I wanted somebody with more reliable hands. That's why I wanted a guy like Zach Ertz. He's got reliable hands. He's not the fastest guy, the most athletic guy, but he's got good hands. That's what I wanted.
Reliable?
Yes, like that guy. CD Lamb. All right. I watched CD Lamb play with 3 different Oklahoma quarterbacks, so I like CD Lamb.
I
He
think
played with
Dallas.
what? He played with Hurts, and he played with Murray, and he played with
Baker.
Baker. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I watched him with Baker first, obviously.
He also played with Spencer Rattler, didn't he?
No, Spencer Rattler started this year.
Okay. Who was?
Jalen Hurts played last year.
Yeah. Okay. Big brain.
Yeah. This is a really weird division because if Dallas doesn't start doing something to improve their defense, I'm gonna change my pick for him at 10 and go with Kyle Pitts because if we're not gonna be able to stop anybody, we're scoring 100 a game.
All right. So the Giants, Austin. They brought in backup quarterback Mike Glennon, backup running back Devontae Booker. They brought in John Ross. They brought in Kyle Rudolph. They brought in defensive end Afedi Odinhibo. Oh, well, whatever. They got a long-term deal finally done with Leonard Williams for 3 years, and they just signed Reggie Ragland just now, and they're hoping to sign Kenny Galladay tomorrow. Thoughts?
I think they're the 3rd best team. I think that offense can be scary if everyone stays healthy, but that's the problem.
Their defense played better than the offense last year, though. You don't think the defense takes a step forward, or not losing anybody?
I'll get there.
Dalvin Tomlinson's gone.
I've
that-
I've said like one sentence.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry. Proceed.
I wanted to focus on the offense because that's where they
Oh.
struggled.
Okay, fair enough.
Because that was one of Warren's big points when he talked about him.
That was.
Saquon Barkley is approaching bust territory if he gets hurt again. Like, you don't get taken second overall and have 3 hurt seasons.
Yeah,
Like,
he's
yes,
torn
you
his
a rookie.
ACL twice.
What?
Didn't he tear his ACL twice so far?
Like, you won Rookie of the Year, yes, but if you have 1 good season to 3 bad ones, that's not second overall material.
That's right.
I think their defense will be better because I think Joe Judge is a very good defensive coach. And Joe Judge has brought his team together, but I still think they're a couple years out. I don't think Daniel Jones is the guy. And I think
Joe
this year will
Judge
kind of
also
prove
got
it.
punched in the face by his line coach. So
Oh, is it gonna be? It's gonna be Mike Glennon. That's the guy then, right?
Yes. Their backup quarterback beat a playoff team, is all I'm saying.
Now
Daniel Jones would not have won that game.
I do have the Eagles, and whew,
Trash. They're
it's
trash.
a long list.
Trash,
Long list.
man. I throw the trash in the ring.
they lost everybody, and yeah, they re-signed Hassan Ridgeway and Andrew Adams. They lost Jalen Mills. They lost everybody on that defensive line. They restructured Brandon Graham. They cut Malik Jackson. They cut Alshon Jeffrey. They let Deshaun Jackson go. What are you gonna say?
Jalen Mills was addition by subtraction.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't. I don't know. I don't like. I don't like anybody on their roster. I don't know. They're the weakest. They have the weakest roster in the whole division. They have to address wide receiver. They need new corners, new safeties. They need new defensive linemen. I don't know. All right. Well, they're the worst team in the division. That's easy. I mean, I don't even think it's close. Now, Washington. They brought in Ryan Fitzpatrick. They promised him he was going to start. So
Curtis Samuel, I think, is one of the biggest additions for this
I
team.
was getting there. See, talk about
It's my team.
He said like once. Oh yeah, it is.
I was listing everything.
The rest
okay.
of them don't matter.
Well, they re-signed
They
Lamar
do.
Jackson. They tagged
Get the one
Brandon
pick.
Scherf. They signed David Mayo and William Jackson III.
That
which
one
doesn't
matters.
matter. And they re-signed the kicker. Kickers matter too, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Hopkins isn't even that good.
Whatever. All right. So go ahead. They got Curtis Samuel. Go ahead.
Curtis Samuel, paired with Terry McLaurin. They play together. They have history together.
That's what you asked for when you did their team. So
I wanted someone to help Terry McLaurin so he's not getting. There was a game where Washington, Terry McLaurin got triple coverage.
let me ask you.
Does Ryan Fitzpatrick beat the Bucks in the wild card round?
Nah.
Heineke
Heineke did really well because there was no film on him. Is my
William Jackson, Ronald Darby. Do they lose? Do they gain something going William Jackson over Ronald Darby, or
Yes. I'm trusting you.
good season last year?
That's because of the front seven. Ronald Darby was trash in Philadelphia. He was garbage.
He wasn't great in Buffalo. He was good, not great.
I think Ryan Fitzpatrick's gonna have a great year. Like, he can hand off to a good running back. Like, Antonio Gibson was top 5 in yards, I believe, or 6th in yards.
What do you think? What do you grade them?
B plus, A minus in that range. Curtis Samuel, big signing.
Now, aside from what Cody said, are they going to win the division?
Yeah, I said that earlier in the chat. I think they're going to win the division. I think it'll be by like 1 game. I think
they win that division. I don't know. I can't root against Cowboys. My wife will kill me, so I can't say anything more.
So Cody, we're on video. How do we combine the football team with America's team? We could make them one team and call it America's team, right? Hear me out.
America's football team. There you go.
America's football team with the Cowboys offense with Kyle Pitts, Washington's defense.
Yeah, but why would you want to get rid of Terry McLaurin and Curtis Samuel? Who are you going to take off the Cowboys to add those receivers?
Michael Gallup.
All of them.
Now, are you just going to
Oh, you
run
mean
5?
triple?
Are you just going to have 5 wides like Cooper?
No, I'm gonna
No, I was
take.
saying we're going to take the Washington defense.
I'm gonna take all of Dallas's defense. I'm gonna trade them to Washington for all of their defense, and I'm gonna keep my offense. And I might throw in Connor Williams for Brandon Scherf. That would be the one upgrade on the offensive side.
You don't want Terry McLaurin or Curtis Samuel?
Terry
All
McLaurin's
three
probably
of my-
better than Michael Gallup, but like this
I
is
think
just
I would take.
easier.
I think I would trade Michael Gallup for Terry McLaurin probably.
I think I'd keep Gallup just because then you're gonna have a bunch of divas fighting over the ball if you bring Terry McLaurin in.
Terry
Yeah,
McLaurin
sure.
like shuts
They
the
have-
fuck up though. I've never heard
They
Terry
have
McLaurin.
they have a more Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb. I mean, the Cowboys are stacked on offense.
And
All
we're
right.
gonna bring in Kyle Pitts.
Yes, because
So
we're not addressing the defense, so we're getting Kyle Pitts because
what's the?
we can't stop anybody. We got to outscore them.
Let's go to the NFC North, and who is the Bears?
You son of a bitch.
The Bears.
All right, so they brought in Andy Dalton, 1 year, $10 million. They told him he's going to start. I saw the press conference. You say they lied. They could lie, but that's what they told him. Allen Robinson got the franchise tag. I didn't think he was going to sign, but he signed it today. They got Jermaine Ifedi. They re-signed him. Mario Edwards, they re-signed. Deion Bush. Cairo Santos re-signed. Punter Pat O'Donnell re-signed. And their long snapper re-signed. And that's it. What do you think? Andy Dalton, the guy?
Give it enough. No, actually, I don't know why they wanted to move on from a younger Mitch Trubisky to take an older Mitch Trubisky.
Wow,
Literally
Mitch
had the
Trubisky was
same
been to the
exact
playoffs.
stats this season. Like
You
I
pull
sent
up,
a picture to
you
you
pull
guys.
up both guys' stats. They played the exact
This
same
is-
amount of games,
This
had
is what,
almost identical passing yards. Trubisky had
what-
2 more touchdowns, and they had the same amount of interceptions. Now go
This is
ahead.
what blows my mind. This blows my mind. They gave Andy Dalton up to $13 million. You know how much Mr. Trubisky got? $2.5 million. You couldn't give that man $2.5 million. He's a younger Andy Dalton.
I think Mitch Trubisky probably didn't want to play in Chicago anymore.
Mr.
So-
Trubisky, what he said in the press conference today is that he wants the Buffalo offense played really well, and they built around their quarterback. And
So imagine
he wants to learn from
this.
Dayball and Josh Allen, and then he wants a bigger contract next year.
Imagine your wife goes out, you're disappointed, or your wife goes out and finds this other dude, right? And then he sucks, he disappoints her too. So you're back. Are you going to be giving your all to this lady now? No. So why would you want to stay with her?
Weird analogy.
That's the analogy I heard Adam Schefter make today.
It got, I was gonna say they got a little personal.
So the weird thing about that is
Mitchell
Mitch
Trubisky slept with
Trubisky
my wife.
actually, Mitchell Trubisky, your wife, actually played better when she came back to you.
So what I'm saying is like, Mitchell Trubisky said in the press conference he wants to learn behind the Bills quarterbacks coach in Brian Daboll, and he wants to take time to develop because he doesn't feel like he's a finished product yet. And he saw how the Bills developed Josh Allen, and he wants to work, and he wants a bigger contract and a chance to start next offseason. He wants the Bills to help him develop.
Oh.
That's what he said.
The flip side of that is if Josh Allen goes down, I think he is capable to lead that team to.
He's
to
a similar style. We're just gonna have to cut the really long pass. He's not as strong armed as Josh Allen, but other than that, I think he can run the offense that Josh Allen can run. Just the short and intermediate stuff, not really the deep stuff.
Plus, it's an immediate upgrade on the offensive line. So
I'm really happy with him as a backup. Like I love Matt Barkley as a
He
person.
is
He's
the
a great
reigning
person,
MVP.
and Matt Barkley is a great person, and he's a great team guy. He's a great leader, and people love him. But he never played. Like even before he came to Buffalo, he never played.
Hold on.
he
Like,
played
we're
with
getting-
Arizona for a while.
He
Yeah, but
beat the Dolphins. What do
That
you
wa-
mean the man never played?
Matt Barkley was another one of Larry Fitzgerald's quarterbacks, by the way.
Yep.
But he didn't. Before he came to Buffalo, he sat out of the league a whole year. You know what I mean? Like he, at least we're getting a guy who started 50 games in the last 3 years, 4
and
years.
has a better win-loss record than what Deshaun Watson has.
Yeah. So I mean, I like it. I like Trubisky. I don't know. That's what I'm getting. What was Chicago's plan at quarterback? Like it was Russell Wilson or nothing. Like Russell Wilson or
Yes.
fucking
that-
Andy
that,
Dalton.
That was it. That was it.
You know
Russell
what?
Wilson or Andy Dalton.
I'm gonna say this now. I'm not counting out Russell Wilson to the Bears trade yet because
So did Andy Dalton say the Bears said he would start, or that he would start for the Bears?
He said that they told me I would start, and that's why I'm here. That was his exact.
So he could start in Seattle, and they did not fucking lie.
Well, no, because Seattle said that if they trade Russell Wilson, they're gonna try to trade the Jets for Sam Darnold.
But here's the other part of it. Teams lie all the time about this shit.
He could
I
start.
mean, they don't
in New
have
York.
to honor their word. That's only the players' job. The players have to honor their word, not the teams. We
Players
had
are
this
coming to
discussion last time.
They're coming to a point though where the players don't have to do that anymore. It's like a
Wait, hold on.
player empowerment movement.
Hold on, I have a question. Can we get back to that Mike Davis thing, the owner of the Raiders? That man only has $250 million.
You're still
Yeah.
on this?
Yeah, we're
I
still
just-
talking about that. That
I-
was such a long
It
time
just
ago.
clicked in my brain. Do you know which players have more money than him in the league?
A lot.
Almost all of them.
Yeah.
If you count Dak's endorsement deals, he might actually have more than that.
Baker Mayfield, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes,
Baker's got that
Aaron
huge
Rodgers.
insurance company. He's got that huge insurance company money.
It's like $180 million from the
He also
insurance
has the
company,
Hulu money.
Oh yeah, he's on the Hulu's commercial. Those Hulu commercials.
plus being a first round draft pick. Like he can
Alright.
buy the Raiders.
So who was the Lions?
That was Warren. Yeah. it
No,
was Warren.
actually, no. I think I was the Lions.
It was
Um,
Jeremy.
Was it Jeremy? Okay.
Yeah, I think
It
I
was
was the Lions.
Warren.
So we got Jared Goff
I'm sorry.
in a trade, and we got a guy who said that Jared Goff was a step down from Matthew Stafford, and we got him
Or a 2023 seventh round pick. The
for a
worst
Not
pick.
even
2023
It's
seventh
4
rounder.
years from now.
for a seventh rounder 2 years from now. Anyways, we got Jared Goff. We're really excited to have Jared Goff.
Are you, or are you
No, you're
telling
not.
us that? 'cause
No,
you're
we're not.
lying?
We're not excited to have Jared Goff. Anyways, we signed a backup, Tim Boyle. There you go.
Starter.
Starter by
Oh.
week 4.
We brought in Jamal Williams from the Packers,
That was a good
Yeah.
sign.
and we brought in Brashad Perriman from the Jets, and we brought in Tyrell Williams, who used to play for the Raiders, and we brought in tight end Josh Hill because we cut Jesse James. We re-signed Romeo Okwara, which Cody thought we wouldn't do, so.
I did think
And-
that.
And then we brought in Michael Brockers for a 2 years from now, a 7th round pick. 2 years from now. So obviously they just wanted to get rid of him. He refused to take an $8 million pay cut, I hear, or something like that.
So Jared, I know I said Matt was better than you at quarterback. How's it going, buddy?
Oh no, him and Jared Goff made a statement. Jared Goff said it's all good. Like he doesn't really care.
Jared Goff with his notebook. He's like, I'm gonna pay Hunter Henry to kill this guy and this guy.
Way to bring it back to the Hunter Henry thing. I really want to know what everybody thinks. Who's a murderer?
Jared
think if it-
Goff's a
I think
murderer.
between the two of them, it's Hunter Henry. Anyways, I like the moves. I don't think they're fully ready to compete. They didn't really do much on the defensive side of the ball, and they have some defensive questions. I'd give it overall like a B minus. They need to address the linebacker position and get better on that in that secondary. So those are needs going forward for the Lions, but they can still be last in the division. That's probably where they're going to end up.
So I heard rumors that your number 3 overall pick last year, Jeffrey Okuda, is going to be traded. Is there any truth to that, Warren Jeremy?
Yes. I don't know. Maybe.
Warren
I
had
just
the
don't-
Vikings.
I don't think that they can. Like I was just telling him, they need to address that secondary. They need to get better at linebacker. They need to get better in the secondary. I just don't think they can give up anybody right now without bringing somebody back. If they sign like an Adoree Jackson or Casey Hayward or somebody that's out there available right now, then I could see them doing it. But right now, no, I can't see it. They just don't have anything.
I
All
can't
right.
see him giving up on Okuda after 1 year anyway, because that's the biggest learning curve in the NFL.
Like I told them, they're still last in the division. Anyways, Green Bay did one thing and one thing only, and they re-signed Aaron Jones, and that is it. Who's Green Bay?
To help Zach Wilson.
Yeah. So you re-signed Aaron Jones, and that's it. How do you think that went?
Pretty good. Zach Wilson's gonna throw to him a lot.
And yeah. So you still think they're the best team in the division with Aaron Jones back?
Yeah, Zach Wilson will keep them at number 1.
Okay. On to Minnesota. Don Beebe, we talked about Don Beebe, and he ran and he knocked the ball out of that guy's hand, Leon Lett. Anyways, his son Chad Beebe re-signed with the Vikings.
Somehow got back to the Bills.
Rashad Hill, he didn't just play for the Bills, he used to play for the Packers too. Anyways, he re-signed. Stephen Weatherly signed. He used to play for the Panthers. He got cut. They got Dalvin Tomlinson from the Giants. They got Nick Vigil, linebacker, and they got veteran Patrick Peterson.
I like all the signings. The defense was not the best.
I still think they needed another corner, but
I think we need to draft. I think we need to get guards. Our offensive line is not very good.
they need a new tackle too, because you cut Riley Reef, your tackle.
Yep. I think that will be where our picks go in the early rounds.
What offensive line?
Offensive line help.
You think they're better than third in the division now, or do you still think they fall to third? Remember, Chicago does have Andy Dalton now, so you know.
Chicago's Super Bowl odds went from +40 to +50 when they signed Andy Dalton.
I know it went down.
So, yeah, I can understand that since they went from the reigning MVP to someone who has never won an MVP.
Yeah, we got the person who was second voting for MVP and we got the MVP, Nickelodeon Most Valuable Player.
That was the
Right.
stupidest idea they ever came out with, because that totally backfired.
I'm so glad Mitchell.
Yeah, because they gave it to the losing team. They gave it to a player on the losing team.
Mitch Trubisky, I'm pissed about that one. That fucker's in the garbage already.
All right. Anyway,
I think they'll be second.
second, and okay, yeah, and the Lions are fourth, so Chicago's probably third. All right.
Yeah, Zach
Chicago's
Wilson will keep
first.
Green Bay in the first spot.
So let's go to the South.
I like how Jeremy's not said a single thing about me saying I'm going to draft Zach Wilson.
You can have him. He's not gonna make it that far. So
You think we're not going to trade up?
what, 2?
They're going all the way to 1.
You think the Jets are gonna go all
I'm
the
going to
way
trade
back?
the entire roster to them. You want Zaire Alexander, Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, take them.
They would probably have to do that. I mean, you know, I don't think you can pass all that up. Anyway,
Aaron Rodgers and all our draft picks for the next 3 years. You in? All right.
Yeah.
No, we have to keep Aaron Rodgers so we can make him mad that we took 2 first-round quarterbacks and traded
back
up
to
for
back.
one. We traded up for 2 first-round
I
quarterbacks.
was gonna say you
just
traded back
for
up
you,
for Jordan
Aaron.
Love too. All right, so
We
we're
need
on to
the
the
lonely in the
South.
quarterback team.
And in the South, I have the Atlanta Falcons, and they lost their whole defense, and they They traded for Lee Smith from Buffalo, a tight end.
They signed Eric Harris too.
Oh yeah, Eric Harris. And we lost our center, we lost our guard, we lost all of our secondary, like literally the whole secondary is gone. We lost our linebackers, and we lost both of our starting defensive ends.
Welcome
So
to Dallas.
So
we are in hell, and we're in last place in the division.
Matt Ryan's gonna end up in traction and with a cast on his shoulder by the end of the season.
I don't want to talk about it. Let's just move on. Carolina. Who's got Carolina?
I do.
All right. They signed David Moore. Got
That's
a
fine,
2-year, $4.5 million deal, $4.75 million deal. They got Cam Irving, 2 years, $10 million. They franchise tag Taylor Moton. They got Pat Outflying at 3 years, $11.5 million. They signed Denzel Perryman, 2-year deal. They got Hassan Reddick on a 1-year, $8 million deal. They got Morgan Fox on a 2-year, $8 million deal, and their long snapper they re-signed.
So it's funny, we brought in Seattle's number 3 receiver.
To be your number 3 receiver, fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, technically.
Cam Irving is an upgrade at tackle for them. I think he played well when healthy. The problem was he got injured a couple times. Pat Elflein, I didn't think was great, but probably an upgrade over what we had. But we strengthened to strength because we brought in more linebackers.
Two good
And
linebackers too.
focused on defense. Denzel Perryman and Hassan Reddick could be a scary combination for Matt Ryan and Jameis Winston and
And that
Tom
was
Brady.
the part that they didn't focus on, because last year in the draft they focused on line. They got a lot of secondary pieces. They didn't get a lot of linebacker pieces, and now they have them.
And yeah, I was expecting more offensive movement, but I really like the two linebackers that signed.
And they're still all in on Watson from everything I hear. So
Yeah, which doesn't help the offense because they still don't have enough.
they don't have an offense. I mean, they're trying. They're trying. I mean, they have DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson and now David Moore. Those are the starting three receivers that they'll have.
But you could argue that's a downgrade from what Watson had last year, and he went 4-12.
He
Possibly.
didn't have
you
a
could argue that.
defense though.
He didn't have a defense, that's for sure. That defense was horrendous. So what do you think grade, and where do you think they'll be in the division?
B minus. I don't know. I can honestly see him second because Atlanta and the Saints are probably going to suck. The Saints are in cap hell and had to get rid of everybody, and that defense was really good, actually. Then they blew it up, and the Vulcans are just going to be trash. They're going to be awful.
Who is the Saints?
Warren.
Warren. So Warren Saints re-signed Jameis on a $5.5 million deal that could go up to $12.5 million. They re-signed Ty Montgomery, like a third string running back for some reason. They signed James Hurst, an offensive lineman. They re-signed PJ Williams, and they tagged Marcus Williams. They lost half their defensive line. They lost a couple pieces on that offensive line. They lost Emmanuel Sanders. They lost Josh Hill, the tight end.
It'd be easier to say who they kept.
Yeah. Anyways,
They lost
Drew
Jared
Brees
Cook.
retired. Yeah, they lost Jared Cook, and Drew Brees retired. And yeah, they lost Alexander Anzalone too. He was a linebacker on that team. Yeah, what are you guys gonna do?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at my roster, and it appears we have a tight end at quarterback. I didn't know Madden let us do that. Weird. How do we move Taysom Hill to tight end again?
I remember last year I
Jameis
scored
Winston-
big. I scored big in fantasy for 3 weeks. They let me put him at tight end, and as long as you didn't change your roster after the first week, they let you keep him in at the tight end spot. But the first time I had somebody on a bye, I had to take him out of that spot, and they wouldn't let me put him back. Bastards. Anyways,
Jameis is going to win the starting role. Taysom Hill is going to be this gimmicky player he always is.
so outside of like, I don't know, what are they gonna do outside of like Michael Thomas for pass catchers?
Alvin Kamara.
Fair enough. What grade do you give them, and where do you see them in that division?
F. Third.
An F30, yeah, because Atlanta's bad. Atlanta's so bad.
Atlanta's probably the only team in the NFL. Atlanta's probably the only team in the NFL worse off than the Saints, and they're both in the same division.
I mean, they did have a bad defense, but
The
then they
Texans
just
have
got rid
plugged a lot of holes with mediocre guys, so they're okay.
the problem with Atlanta is they had a bad defense, but then they got rid of all of them and didn't bring anybody in. So
they're doing a Dallas situation. They're like, we'll just score.
Score
But
with what?
They can't score either because they don't have an offensive line.
They don't have an offensive line. They got rid of their center, and their center went to the Falcons. Their guard is a free agent. I mean, they don't have an offensive line either.
Center went to the Falcons, aren't we?
No, he went to the 49ers.
Oh, I was like, wait, what? Who are we talking about again?
Yeah, the 49ers are really committed to protecting for
whoever they get. Joe Flacco.
Joe Flacco, 2012.
You know what? He would probably be an upgrade over Garoppolo. I didn't actually. Yeah, it's funny because the games the Jets looked the best, Joe Flacco played in.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part.
So, on to Tampa. Tampa re-signed. These are all re-signings. They re-signed Chris Godwin. They re-signed Gronkowski. Well, they franchised tag Godwin. They re-signed their backup guard, Aaron Stinney. They re-signed Shaquille Barrett. They re-signed Levante David. They re-signed Kevin Minter. And they re-signed Ryan Suckup.
Anthony Nelson.
And they're working on a deal with Sue. From everything I hear, that deal might or might not get done.
Sue and Brown.
Yeah, and Brown. Brown will probably get done. He doesn't want to go anywhere else.
He got
So
a
you're
massive
gonna have the
offer
same.
from Seattle.
You're
Brown
gonna have
got-
the same team as last year and go first in the division. We know that. All right.
I think I would like to see us get a safety linebacker hybrid.
Probably in the draft, though, right?
Yeah, I hope. I know you don't look at a lot of the draft stuff, but
I hear there's
Jeremiah
one.
Oso.
Is that the guy from Notre Dame or something? The guy
Yeah,
who's
he
like
plays
a hybrid.
basically everywhere on the defense, and I like that.
Bills,
Like Devin White did that for us, and I would like to get 2 Devin White-esque players.
Well, the Bills are looking at him too, but the Bills draft before you, so
Yeah.
we're also looking at him.
I think you guys are going to take edge.
Apparently, we're gonna. Brandon Bean today said the Bills are going to look at edge in the next couple of days in free agency, and a corner and a tight end. So those are the 3 positions we're focused on in free agency.
You guys will get mini Gronk. You couldn't get
They
Gronk,
want-
so you got mini Gronk from
They
Penn State.
wanted to. They want to go best player available in the draft. They don't want to have any needs when they get to the draft because they want to just go best player available,
Well-
according to their board.
If you go edge rusher's not very strong at the top in this draft. I don't think. I think the best value is day 2, day 3.
Well, they want to get an edge rusher in free agency in the next 2 or 3 days, is what Brandon Bean said today.
Who's left like quality?
Not quality, it's a rotational piece because they're going to have Mario Addison and Jerry Hughes start, but they rotate more than any defensive line I've ever seen. So they have AJ Epineza, who's up and coming, and we've got Daryl Johnson, who's been solid these last couple of years. But they want a rotational piece who can hit home. So that's really all they want.
Oh yeah, the Bucks have like a super easy schedule too, as of right now. So I
So
haven't seen what teams have finished doing in free agency in the draft, but like right now they have the second easiest schedule after the Cowboys.
Also, you got injuries and everything else that come out too.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of the value with the edge rushers are going to be around 3 through 6.
they're not looking round one. Round one, if they don't get a tight end in free agency, they're looking for a tight end. That's our biggest need. That's the biggest need on our roster right now.
So
if
do
we
you guys
do
want a
get one-
genuine tight end or like a receiving tight end?
I think we're going to get a big nickel corner if in the first round if we can get a tight end in free agency.
I'm trying to think of the guy's name. Drawing a blank. I have a name for you to look out for at cornerback, but
That's really,
I have to
but
find
it's not going to be 1 or 2. It's going to be a nickel corner, like a big nickel. I mean, we have Teron Johnson who's going to start at nickel, but when we play the Patriots, they want, and when we play tight ends, we really struggled in coverage against tight ends, even when putting Teron Johnson on them. So they want somebody bigger. They want a bigger nickel guy.
so they want Jeremiah Koromora, who is a
Like,
strong safety that they have.
mine.
Now,
Dibs.
real quick,
He's
so
my
I
top
think
safety. I
we
know.
got one division left, and
He's my
hopefully we
top
get it done.
linebacker.
So I want to be
Awesome.
done in like a half hour. So
How come we don't get kicked out of your videos?
because there's only 3
Because
of
I'm
us.
not Warren.
Warren says that he read the rules and it doesn't start till the 4th person comes in apparently. So
That's what I said, and he argued with me.
4 people you get kicked out, 3 people you don't apparently.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, it's dumb.
Warren's
Anyways.
out of the group. Remove him from the chat right now.
It's just the 3 of us always. So we're gonna start the NFC West, and this is a team. I think they had one of the best off seasons so far in the Cardinals. They did a lot and addressed a lot of needs, and I think they could compete for the division. Anyways,
I'm gonna disagree before you get into that because I think they should have kept Son Reddick before they signed JJ Watt.
I
okay.
agree.
Well, I also agree. I do agree with that, but I think
And
that
I'm
they
the
have
Cardinals.
pieces. I think they have pieces that can make up for that, though.
So how do I?
Chandler
find
Jones
this
will be back.
person there?
Anyways, first they signed AJ Green. I don't know. Like we talked about a place for people to go and retire because he's up there. they re-signed their offensive tackle Kevin Beachum. They did trade for Rodney Hudson, which is big. They needed an upgrade at center, like big time. They brought back Marcus Golden, which I wanted to bring back Reddick or Golden. I did prefer Reddick over Golden, but they got him cheaper, Marcus Golden, and he's good. He's not as good as Hassan Reddick, but they got J.J. Watt. They re-signed Tanner Vallejo, which I didn't know he played there, but he's probably a special teamer. They re-signed Robert Alford. They re-signed their punter, and they got Matt Prater from the Lions, one of the best kickers in the league. What do you think?
I love what they did with the offensive line. And I don't know that I like AJ Green in Arizona. I'm not sold on that one.
He's a 2 though. He doesn't have to play corner ones. He gets to sit across from DeAndre Hopkins. They can't double AJ Green ever.
I actually think he might be 3. I've heard rumors that they're going to be taking a receiver in the first round.
Then he would be 4. I like Christian. I think Christian Kirk is over AJ Green right now.
I think it'll depend because AJ Green, I see a lot of like old player, been with one team, mentally exhausted, going to a new team, rejuvenating themselves type thing.
I think he will rejuvenate himself. He's not old yet. He's only like 32, but I really feel like
I like AJ Green as a player. I just don't know if I like the fit with Arizona.
Well, Kyler Murray's got a big arm. He can hit him.
Yeah,
but my thing is like, I like Christian Kirk. I thought he played really well last year, and they used him well. I think he fits that offense better. I think AJ Green's a 3, but he won't play 3 because he's too big for the slot, I think.
No, I think you put Christian Kirk in the slot because he's a matchup nightmare in the slot.
Yeah, it's like Buffalo. Bees is our second receiver too on the depth chart, but he plays in the slot because again he's a better route runner and he's quick and he's better in the slot. But
or you could put Andy Isabella in the slot and just torch linebackers all day. It was
what they did last year. Well, no, they put Fitz in the slot last year a lot.
But I scheme fit wise, I don't know that I like AJ Green there. I would have liked.
What they want to do is they want to throw the ball down the field more. Is what I'm hearing.
But if you put him in Green Bay, I think Green Bay would have been a better fit. I don't like Cliff Kingsbury's offense.
I hear that Cliff Kingsbury is on the hot seat. Well, it's warm. It's getting warmer, and if they don't go to make the playoffs this year, it's going to be like red hot, and he's probably going to get fired.
If they don't make the playoff, they have no excuse not to. They didn't have an excuse not to make the playoffs last year. They're such an infuriating team because one week they come out and look like the best team in the NFL, and the next week they look like the
They shouldn't even played for the playoffs in Week 17 because they should have lost that Bills game. We came back and we scored. We scored when we needed to.
I remember talking to you about that. And then
are you talking about the Hail Murray when you
Hail Murray?
I hate that play. It's like the bane of my existence last year. They showed it everywhere.
The bane of your existence was the Dolphins.
No, I don't hate the Dolphins. I mean, I don't like the Dolphins.
Say it with a straight face.
I know how happy you
I don't.
I don't 50 on them.
I wouldn't say hate the Dolphins. I don't like the Dolphins.
No, but
I don't. I hate the Patriots. I hate the Patriots. I don't hate the Dolphins yet to that extent.
Considering I have no vested interest in either the Bills or the Cardinals, that was the best play of the season, probably. Like
we just scored to go ahead, though.
I realized that, but then Hail Murray.
We should have stopped the count right there. We go ahead, stop the count. The game's over right now.
Scored too fast. I said it too. I said you left too much time on the clock.
I was hoping he stepped out of bounds too, but he didn't. I was hoping he's right near the sideline. Maybe he stepped out. No, he didn't.
Kyler Murray's like, well, he's somewhere in that mass of Bills blue.
That was the defender's fault. When you see how Mary coming, you knock the shit down. You don't try to catch it. Trey White tried to catch it, and then Jordan Poyer bumped into him.
There's 6 hands right around Hopkins' 2 hands. All you see is Hopkins' 2 hands grabbing the ball.
You know what you got to do? Is swat the ball down. After he touches it, just swat it out. You can even hit his hands at that point because it's not pass interference anymore. He touched the ball. Just jack up his hands or something. Hit him right in the arms. He'll drop it. Jesus.
You can literally just get the penalty at that point. Just fucking grab him.
Yeah, because there's only one play left. so what? They get the ball on the 1 yard line. You could stop them.
As great of a catch as it was, what made that play so great was Kyler Murray evading a sack and then throwing as he was basically getting hit
Yeah, he was like
on a dime.
it's like a step out of bounds. Like a step from being out of bounds. Anyways, let's not talk about that anyway. Let's move on. The Rams. Who's the Rams?
You know how long I heard about Odell Beckham Jr.'s catch, and I still hear about that catch?
That
Am
was
I-
that was a better catch in
It-
itself. So
It was not.
Am I the Rams?
the best
Is what
DeAndre
was the
Hopkins
Rams?
catch was under the leg. Like remember in the Dolphins game, it didn't count because it was a bad offensive pass interference call. It was terrible, but that was the best catch almost I've ever seen. He like pinned it in the underneath his leg almost.
The best catch I've seen is the CD Lamb where he literally bends his body in half.
Contortionist.
That catch was really good though. All right. Anyways, the Rams. I think it's me. I'm pretty sure I'm the Rams, and I am the Rams. All right. So I'm on the other side of this Matthew Stafford trade now, and we were ecstatic about it.
So,
Um,
how do you feel about me making this trade for you? Because I had talked about it and then it happened.
I think it was great. And they re-signed Leonard Floyd, which is something they needed. They didn't want to give up any of the pass rushing, which they did anyways with Brockers going. They're in cap nightmare. I mean, they had to let Josh Johnson and Troy Hill go. I mean, they giving up pieces on the defense. They let Samson Ebicam go. They let Michael Brockers go.
Do you feel like you could have gotten more out of Michael Brackers than the absolute worst draft pick you could have possibly received?
We just want to no, because we didn't. The problem is they didn't cut him until late last night. They weren't going to cut him until late last night. The problem is they had to get under the salary cap. It was actually 2 nights ago, but they had to get under the salary cap by 4 p.m. the next day. They didn't have time to shop him around. They had to take the first offer.
Do you feel a little disrespected by your other team coming in with that low of an offer after you just gave them 2 firsts for Matthew Stafford?
Yeah, we won't be doing business with them again. Jerks. Anyways, that's really it. The Rams lost more than they gained, though. Even though they have Matthew Stafford, I think offensively they're better. I just feel like they're not quite there defensively as good because the defense carried them last year. So I'm gonna say I give them like a C plus, and I still think that they finish second in the division.
I think they win the division. I think Sean McVay with someone like Matthew Stafford is going to be
That
terrifying.
defense isn't nearly as good as it was. I mean,
It doesn't have to be.
let's see how they plug the hole. So let's see how
Stafford is so much better than Jared Goff.
I gotta see what they do at safety though, and what they do at corner, because those are important positions.
So
And they need a new linebacker now too.
So they got options where they draft at. They're actually in a prime spot for that because JOK probably falls to the end of the first round now because most people are looking at him as a safety, I think. So you could get him at safety. Nick Bolton should be there, and he's my favorite linebacker in this draft class.
They can get a corner in the second round, I heard.
They can get corners in the second round, or
they don't have a first round pick.
Oh shit, you're right. I forgot about that. They never drafted
or a second round pick.
Who did they give to the first round pick to? They don't have a second round either. They don't have any picks. What are they going to do to build this team?
I didn't think about the fact that
they have Aaron Donald, and as we have talked about multiple times, a good pass rush. Secondary.
They just need a second corner and a safety, but maybe they can get by without him. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe they can.
I think their offense will be a lot scarier because Matthew Stafford unlocks that entire playbook.
He does. I think offensively, I don't think they're a problem offensively. I don't think it's a problem at all. But defensively, I think it's going to be a little bit of a problem.
I'm trying to think of who's still out there, but they could bring in a guy like Keanu Neal if you're playing him at strong safety because he's a big physical
the Cowboys
safety.
That DeMonte KZ thing is really picking up steam.
I actually kind of like that because I think he's a better coverage guy and a better ball skills guy, so I think he could go.
They're going to get him over, Xavier Woods?
The free safety and play center field in Dan Quinn's offense and do fairly well at it.
All right.
The more tape I watched on him. But I think they could bring in Keanu Neal cheap on a 1-year deal and plug him in at strong safety.
Oh,
There's
Keanu Neal
linebackers
said
out
that
there
he's
still.
willing to play linebacker. Keanu Neal, so he's a bigger
Yeah, they've
safety
talked
size
about
wise.
that too.
Yeah, so
Well, yeah, that's why I had him at strong safety because he's a come up there and hit you in the mouth kind of safety,
but
kind
they
of like what Roy Williams was with Dallas.
his agent is telling teams that he's willing to play linebacker too. So if anybody wants a hybrid, there's a hybrid.
Well, there you go. There you go. That fills in for both roles then.
If they can do that, yeah, he would fill
And
the
there's
linebacker spot too.
would Adoree Jackson take a cheap deal? Would
Possibly. Adoree Jackson would be a great
There's-
CB too. I want him in Buffalo because he's so fast. He can make up. Like, what do we need? What do we talk about? The Chiefs beating us with speed. What do we need on the corner in the secondary? Speed, and he's one of the fastest corners I've seen.
so when you play the Chiefs, you're just gonna set him back in center field when you see the ball up in there, go get it.
Yeah, Adoree, go get the ball. Just go get it. He can. I've seen him. I've seen him make up for bad positioning with speed, like at least 10 times his rookie season. Like he had an up and down rookie season, but that's what flashed on him was his speed because he got caught out of position because he was a rookie, but he made up for it almost every time with that speed.
And that's where I don't like Patrick Surtain in this draft class. We'll get to that later. God damn it.
Yeah, we'll talk.
Everything leads me to draft.
All right, so the 49ers,
Austin
just the
Hedges.
49ers.
I am.
Who's oh, you are. All right.
I
You
am.
re-signed Kyle Juszczyk on a 5-year deal. You got Trent Sherfield. He was with the Cardinals last year. You re-signed Trent Williams to a massive 6-year, $138 million. David Bakhtiari called you guys petty as fuck because it's $10,000 more a year than he's getting. So he called it petty. Anyways, you guys
Well,
signed Alex Mack.
David Bakhtiari is a big ass crybaby from Wisconsin. Go drink your beer, eat your cheese, and shut the fuck up.
He just called it super petty because it's $10,000 more. Because Trent Williams wanted to be the highest paid tackle, and he is by $10,000. So
You need
anyway.
to watch what you say about Zach Wilson's starting tackle.
They signed Alex Mack on a 1-year, $5.5 million deal. You got DJ Jones re-signing. They got Samson Ebukam to play linebacker next to Fred Warner, which I really like that. Then they re-signed Emmanuel Mosley and Jason Verrett at corner.
So Jason Brett was huge. Ebukam was huge. I actually like a lot of what San Francisco has done, including making Bakhtiari cry. Alex Mack is a huge improvement for him at center. I
Make the guy
think they're
cry.
really committed they're really committed to protecting whoever which is why I'm surprised they didn't target Mitch Trubisky because I think they could have got him to start for cheap. And they're really committed to protecting whoever they put back there next year.
Bridgewater. They're still in on Bridgewater if the Panthers get Watson. From what I hear.
also in on Watson.
They're also in on Watson, yes. I heard that too.
See,
It's because there's no
Trent
acquisition
Williams.
between California and Texas.
the 6-year, $138 million contract surprised me a little bit because
This is his last contract because he's in his 30s.
yeah, he's like I was thinking he was around 34, 35. And that's why the length of the deal is what got me on this. I can see the 20 million a year, but I was thinking like 3 years, 66 million, something like that.
Yeah, right?
I'm trying to look up his age quick.
I got him.
31.
I got it right now.
Oh,
He is
shit, he's
30.
only 32.
No, he's 32, yeah. So put him at 38. This will be the last contract of his career. Yeah, he'll probably retire after this.
I thought he was older than what he was. My bad. He
That's a good
seems like
deal.
he's been around forever.
Yeah, Washington does that to you sometimes, being in
Yeah.
Washington. So I really like what the 49ers did. Do you think they can win you think they have a shot at the division?
I think they're better than what people think they are. They dealt with injuries almost to the extent that Dallas dealt with injuries.
Their defense got decimated.
Their defense got decimated. Their QB2 got hurt, and then their QB3 wasn't very good, and then their QB4 played a little bit better, and then he wasn't very good, and then their QB3 was better. And then when Garoppolo was healthy enough to come back, their QB2 still sat on the bench because they don't like him.
Yep. All right. Anyways, I think they need to figure out what they're doing at quarterback, and I could see them winning the division depending on who they get.
Well, that's even if they got Darnold in there, I'd be intrigued by that,
It'd be interesting. I think it'd be a better fit for Darnold too.
and it'd bring him back home.
Yep. Back to California. Seattle.
That was
They
one.
lost Greg Olson, but they got they got Gerald Everett, which is good. They got him on a $7 million deal. They traded for Gabe Jackson to try and protect Wilson, maybe make him cry a little bit less. They got a nose tackle Puna Ford, and to replace Shaq Griffin, they got Akello Witherspoon from the
San
49ers.
Francisco, yeah.
Yep.
Which is a downgrade.
And
Not that
yeah,
it's bad, but
that's really all they did. I know that there's moves to be had there. I know they're considering linebackers, defensive end help because they cut Carlos Dunlap. I know they're talking about Russell Wilson trades, all that stuff. But we'll see if any of that comes to fruition. But
I hope Seattle finishes fourth for that one. We were talking about teams promising things earlier.
so Seattle, that's an interesting thing with him and Russell Wilson. We talk about it for a couple of minutes. See, according to them, everything is like they gave him what he asked for, more say in the offense.
I was talking Carlos Dunlap.
Oh, yeah, that was frustrating, even as somebody not Carlos Dunlap. Like, that's frustrating. Like, you promised the guy that you were going to bring him back for more money because he took less money last year, and then you cut him.
Yeah,
Like,
that's a really shitty move.
That's a super shitty thing to do, for
But
sure.
that led me into my Andy Dalton thing where, yeah, dude, but is he really the starter?
He is at this moment.
Exactly. Right now, who else do we got on the team? Nick Foles, you're better than him.
Yeah, forget Nick Foles. You're going to start over him.
If we make it to the Super Bowl, then Nick Foles will play.
That's all he's good at. Yes. But, so you can stop recording now. I think we're done.